All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
Rightio, legends, Cast Chronicles, we're back again with another video. And so today I thought we'd do a video on, so in the last video I did mention a fellow named Schmick Mick. And so even though this isn't his real name, it's very close to his name. And I think that he is the most feared prisoner in the Victorian prison system, and we'll absolutely get into that. But before we get into it, if you haven't already subscribed, jump down there, shoot me a subscription, and if you tap that little bell icon, you'll never miss any of my videos again. You will get a reminder on whatever video you are, whatever device you are watching me on, rather. And yeah, all right, well, let's get into it. So I guess, you know, there are not a shortage of crazy prisoners in our prison system. That's a fact. You know, I make mention of this in other videos as well, where I say, you know, outside 1% of the population is crazy and the other 99% are normal, whereas in prison it's the other way around. 99% of them are crazy and 1% of them are normal. So it's very, 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 you know, common to come across somebody who is fairly crazy, but this one definitely takes the cake for me. So I did make mention yesterday in the video that I made that this guy absolutely is an absolute machine. So on he'd just done like 5 years and was at Fulham, and so there was a bit of tension between him and this certain prisoner, and he had been telling his friends only, and because this person would not speak out of school or tell anyone that he's, you know, he's just not that kind of person. But anyway, had told people that he was going to stab someone. And so then all of a sudden, out of the blue, before 2013, before the Adrian Bailey and all that stuff, before they done the parole reform, it was pretty easy to get parole and people just used to get it willy-nilly. And so he didn't know he was getting paroled. And so in his mind, he thought that people would think because he said he was going to stab this guy and he didn't, that he was, you know, weak. So he absolutely like butchered this guy on the day he was supposed to be going home and didn't even get to leave prison at all. So he didn't leave the prison at all and stayed in prison the whole time and got another 7-year sentence for that stabbing. So that is just one instance that I mentioned in my last video. So then after that 7-year sentence, he was only out for, I think, 6 months, I believe, and then came back again for a double unaliving. So it would have been a triple unaliving, but he couldn't catch that person. And this was actually all over a car spot. So he was by himself and was armed with like some crazy garden tool. And these people tried to like tell him that that was their car spot. Anyway, tried to muscle him because he was by himself. Now, this guy isn't like massively big, like although he's ripped, like he's not hugely massive. And so I guess these three blokes thought that they could, you know, stand over him or whatever for this car spot, which ended up being the biggest mistake they made of their life. 2 people lost their life that night, and one more else would have lost their life, but he couldn't be caught. So that obviously brought him back. He was on remand for these unalivings of 2 people. And in that time, I was actually on remand for my big sentence I did as well. And we were actually in the same yard. And so this was my first time actually like getting to know this person. Although I knew him from sentences before, I didn't take any time to get to know him. I was a little bit younger. He's older than me. Anyway, I did take time to get to know this person, and I knew him on a pretty good level, you know. But the truth is, I learnt very quickly that this person is the absolute epitome of crazy. So in this time, I can't even count the amount of people that he thought were working for the homicide squad, and therefore he would take these people out like for absolutely nothing. Now, one of these people was one of my friends, and which was one of his friends as well. And so I can remember absolutely perfectly. I was sitting directly across from him at the table in the outdoor undercover area. And so I was sitting directly across from him. My mate was sitting to the side, and he just turned around and said, "I think you're working for the homicide squad," and then just literally just into this guy. And yeah, attacked him like a spider monkey, just jumped on him, and the guy ended up getting away, but got stabbed like 14 times. And so yeah, he was slaughtered for that, and then he was released. And unfortunately, when he came back, he just wasn't his same self in his head. Like, he was losing the plot, and like he was thinking that the jail was trying to poison him. And at this time, when he came back out, he would only talk to two people. So it was myself and this other older dude that he would only talk to. And so he was trying to convince us that the prison was trying to poison him, and we're trying to convince him that absolutely it's not happening, bro. It's all in your head. And then in this time, when we're when we're trying to tell him that the prison isn't trying to poison you, mate, it's all in your head. And so he started to get paranoid on us then, didn't he? And so we had to, talk him out of it. And then I remember it was only probably a week after that, he ended up attacking a screw, and a pretty violent attack at that, and then was moved to Barwon. Now, my brother had already been sentenced, and my brother was at Barwon, and I introduced him to my brother, and my brother sent me a kite saying, like, this guy is legitimately the craziest person I've ever met. And I said that I tried to send a warning with my brother that this guy is a loose cannon. And so, like, I'm talking of times when this guy was in the top tier, on the top tier. No, this guy was on the bottom tier, and the guy on the top tier was like making too much noise in the middle of the night. And then old Schmick gets up in the morning, arms himself with his friggin', 16-inch Rambo shank, and went in there and almost unalived this guy just for that. And like, this is somebody also who takes his prison very, very seriously. So from the moment he gets up to the moment he gets locked back in his cell, he's training or doing something to make himself like an absolute, like I said in the last video, this guy is an absolute gladiator. So he's also someone that can walk around in a prison full of prison gangs and not get approached by any of them to have to join or whatever, because he's just that much of a loose cannon. Like, no one wants beef with him. Now, is that to say that any of the prison gangs wouldn't have beef with him? I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that he's quite simply a one-man army, and everyone knows that, and like is absolutely like the epitome, if you ask me, is the epitome of crazy. Now, like, there's that many war stories getting around, like the prison guards at Port Phillip using a cell extraction of him getting taken out of a cell, where it took like 13 SOG to take him out of the cell. Now, apparently they used that to train new screws and new security on how to overcome what he was doing to get it over every single one of them officers when they kept coming in. And yeah, like, he's just like, so he's also someone as well that is just absolutely, so like, he's the most respectful person you have ever met. Like, you will never ever hear this person disrespecting anyone or anything like that. He doesn't break the rules, pretty much doesn't really get along with anyone at all, but is still like seemed to be allowed to be walking around the prison like he's some kind of a superhuman. And if you ask me, he is some kind of a prison superhuman. Now, I've also seen this person have, like, 12, 15 different people holding him like his big bone crushing shanks. And yeah, is absolutely, like, 100%, if you ask me, the craziest person in the Victorian prison system, old Schmick. And is equally as feared by the prison staff and the prisoners alike. Now, I am lucky that I got along with Schmick the whole time, and I'm also lucky that he never suspected me of working for the homicide like he did 99.9% of the whole prison population. And like I said, like, he took out one of our very close mates because he thought that he was working for the homicide squad. And yeah, it was legitimately like the only time I've ever been wary about being around somebody in prison. Like, I'm talking, like, another time in this exact same spot, so in the undercover area. So the unit that he was in was the, like, IDS unit, and so at the time it's the Chilwell unit at MRC. And so with his bare hands, so, like, this guy, I remember he was, like, yelling at Schmick before he even, like, got to us, and what he was screaming I can't even remember. But all Schmick did was stand straight up and just run at this guy like a bull at a gate. Like, I'm talking like a bull at a gate, and just hit this guy at 100 miles an hour. And then, yeah, just continued to pound him like, yeah, absolute shit. And that's the only person I ever seen him use his bare hands on. And I guess it was one of those times where he was kind of caught off guard. But yeah, 100%. Someone asked me the question, like, could I do a sole video on Schmick? So that is a sole video on Schmick, and he is, like, definitely the epitome of crazy when it comes to prison and prisoners. Like, he was and still is, and he got 35 years for what he did, and was about 40 years old when it happened. So, won't be getting out until he's like 75 years old, and probably won't get out because of the amount of crazy shit that he continues to do. And he's an absolute gladiator. And yeah, respect to you, Schmick. You're an absolute weapon. And yeah, there you go. That's who I think is one of Victoria's, if not the most feared prisoner we have. And there you go, guys. I am the Chaos Chronicles. If you guys have got any questions you want me to answer with a video, chuck it down there in the comment section of this video. I'll do my utmost best to answer it with a video. Obviously, I can't answer every single comment with a video, but I do get around to it. I do answer all my comments, although it is getting gradually harder and harder and harder. I do get around to it. So yeah, if there is something you would like me to answer with a video, chuck it down there. I've been the Chaos Chronicles.
Chaos Chronicles, where the darkness thrives. True tales of madness, where the spirit survives.